Hi everyone, this is still a continuation video to my previous video about how human activities are impacting people's health and have been impacting people's health for many decades of our life, or even centuries, you can say, because even in the past we have had epidemics that led to death as a consequence of human activities, which people didn't correlate all the time um, in the past as much as they need to correlate now if we don't want to go near extinction. That's why I'm trying to make these videos so that people can start becoming aware what in their own lifestyle choices are harming or impacting their health. Now I'm going to switch a little bit of gears here and try to talk about the consequence of human activities that happen not simply in our own families or in our own health, but how we have been doing it to other planetary life forms as well. I did mention this a little bit in my previous videos, but if people missed this aspect, let's look at how it impacts the plants around us. The simplest thing that I have found currently in my life when I have been living in Navi Mumbai is the impact of how chemical activities are causing the trees and plants in my neighborhood from not being able to provide us adequate oxygen. During the pandemic or even after the pandemic, when I was doing research on what is good health, one of the WHO guidelines said that people should have chemical free environment in their homes if they are recovering in the home, or indoors when they are recovering. There should be a home which is chemical free, and people should try to open their windows so that they can get fresh air. But can I get fresh air? Or basically, for anyone who had COVID or respiratory illness or anything else manifesting in their health that impacts their circulatory system, we need good quality oxygen. But can we get oxygen from the trees and plants if the trees and plants are coated with years and decades of chemicals on them? Every time in the rainy season, when the rains fall on these trees and on their leaves, it does wash away some of the dust in cities. If you would observe, sometimes during this before the summer, or while during the summer time before the rains, we see coating of layers of dust on these leaves of our trees. Now these trees have been existing in Navi Mumbai for many decades, but even though they have been existing for many decades, even though they are looking like they are very healthy, some of these trees are currently dying, and even with smaller gusts of wind or rainfall, they are not able to withstand the elements anymore. Why? Because if we are continuously spraying chemicals around in the neighborhood, be it from pesticides, be it chemicals from our vehicle exhaust fumes, be it some industrial zones that are there in Navi Mumbai, whatever, be it even the human activities of cooking food, where if the quality of food is spoiled, if there are chemical contaminants in our food that we are cooking at home, now those chemicals are also there in the environment. Like how burning wood, burning coal can emit arsenic or other, not coal, with coal I found that burning coal can emit mercury in the environment. So there are many chemicals that get emitted in the environment based on the industrial applications and industrial processes. Now I am not one who has worked in the chemical industry, so I don't know deeply about this topic. I'm just very superficially introducing this topic. But there are lots of chemical contaminations currently that are impacting all of our health when we do normal human activities, because our normal human activities are currently polluted globally, And the higher the pollution in our lives from food, water, air, clothing, normal lifestyle, higher is the chances of us falling sicker, getting slow decline in health, having all these different kinds of organ damages show up, different kinds of cancers show up, different kinds of cancers repeating in certain people. Because if your environmental pollutants aren't gone, I have found stories of people in India as well as people living outside India who have had cancers, and then they have had recovery from it for a few months, but again they remit into getting the same cancer again, or some patients have gone back into getting a different kind of cancer. Both of these are happening though from the same these root causes of human led activities that are there in our daily lives, that are leading to our health decline slowly over time. Any patient who has had treatment for cancer and then again gone back to getting the same cancer again, that's happening because the conditions that are the carcinogenic things in their environment that led to them getting the cancer the first time isn't eliminated. So if that thing doesn't get eliminated, you will get the cancer again after a few years. Even if you keep getting treatment again and again, you will keep getting cancer, because whatever you're doing in your daily life that should um, actually be helping you heal, helping you recover, if those healing things, recovering things, be it medicine, be it food, be it the home you live in, be it the people you live with, if they don't have health supportive factors there, you will continuously keep getting the same disease. So one who has already had, say, 2 times remitted into getting the same cancer again, they have to now start becoming mindful. What is there in my home environment, in my daily lifestyle practice, that is adding to this cancer, that is causing me to again get the cancer? Then there are others who had one cancer in 1 year, and after 2 3 years they have either another cancer, or after 2 3 years they find that they have organ damage, or they first had some organ damage, then they had cancer. Like this, multiple diseases are occurring in their health continuously after a span of couple of years. Again, here also it is the same thing: chemical pollution, environmental pollution from our daily choices, from choices that we may not have done, our parents may have done, grandparents may have done, all of which whose impact is still there on earth. As a result, their consequences of choices made 10 years back, 20 years back also might start impacting someone's health now, because whatever was impacting their health when they were a child, when they had better immune system, now with other additional activities of the parents, grandparents, and the children's uh, activities too, all of them combined are piling up to impact someone's health. That's why it's important that we wake up to what are we doing to our health. But are we simply impacting our health? No. If we keep on piling the chemicals on earth, even if we have a vast area of earth where large green trees have been planted, where trees are have been planted for centuries and decades, who have given us oxygen for so many decades of our life or centuries of someone's life, even those trees are now dying because they don't have clean water, clean air, clean food for them to stay healthy. So these trees are also slowly dying. They can't verbally tell us, but they are actually still telling it to those people who are as sick as the trees. When I am having breathing trouble from lack of oxygen, I or when my circulatory system is now, basically currently the my current status of health is my circulatory system is the one which got first impacted by the water pollution in this area. And my circulatory system being impacted, then it started next impacting my cardiovascular system, because I had a thyroid problem also going on, which also impacts the cardiovascular system. When my circulatory system was impacted and the thyroid and the cardiovascular is impacted, it is also impacting the amount of oxygen I can breathe, or the amount of oxygen that can spread to my different organs. Like that, my other organs are also now getting impacted, and there are multiple things happening in my my body at the same time, during the same time one organ or the other organ is indicating damage, because they are all, my body is an interconnected uh, system. So if damage starts happening in one system, it doesn't simply stay restricted to that system. My circulatory system problem enhances the other biological systems also from malfunctioning eventually. So any one of our organs, when they have started showing damages, means that our body is currently in a decline stage, and we have to make sure that our body starts healing, and the right conditions for our healing should be present in order to not continue that decline. But if we don't understand what are the factors that are impacting my health, if I go to a doctor and he gives me the medicine for the circulatory system problem, if at the same time I'm having thyroid problem, cardiac problem, liver problem, other organ, skin problem, all these things if I'm having at the same time, and if the doctor doesn't look at all these problems, will the treatment be effective? It will only partially treat something, it will not give me the complete solution. Next thing, if everything related to the 4-5 different organ system problems that I am facing currently or have been facing for many years, some of it developed in my body from 10-15 years of exposure to certain chemicals, some of it developed in my body from 30-40 years of exposure to other chemicals, all these things that were slowly developing in my body, slowly developing about my health. Now if I want to reverse any of these conditions, treatment will help only if my body was not toxed out. But right now, my body is toxed out with multiple chemicals. That's why just taking a chemical drug is not always helping. What did help me was Ayurveda or eating clean food, living in places with cleaner air than Navi Mumbai, going to places with cleaner water than Navi Mumbai. But this cleaner water, cleaner air places are also equally damaged currently on earth. I went to West Bengal where there were much more greener trees compared to Navi Mumbai. But even then, or I even went to Goa where lots of greenery is there even in Goa. But despite that, and Goa's air quality was much more better than Navi Mumbai, so it did help me recover when I went there. I did find some good things there which helped me in recovering from the chemical pollution of pesticide poisoning that was happening to my body. But Goa, being a tourist town, also has people coming from all across India and all across the globe who come to a beach like place where sun is high. As a result, we are using a lot of chemicals called sunscreen. We are also, when going out in the beaches for swimming, or even when we go to the resort and swim, the chemicals that are there in the sunscreen are going and polluting the waters in Goa. Not just the chemicals that we are using in the sunscreen, but because it's a beach town, when you're having beach activities, when you're having fun activities, when there is also increase in sexual activities, these kind of things lead now people to use more and more chemicals, because your health gets deteriorated, you want more hygiene, you want more cleanliness. And being a tourist town, it is also a town where hygiene and cleanliness has to be maintained in the hotels and rooms also. So all of these now lead to what? Increase use of soaps, shampoos, detergents, hygiene products, body sprays, colognes, body lotions, and number of chemicals are now added to the water in Goa. Now, is it just impacting the water in Goa? No, it impacts the water in Goa first, but as a result of the impact of heightened water pollution in Goa, now those water also have in some of the resorts. I saw so many coconut trees with very odd coloring that I didn't see in a healthier places, or 30-40 years back when coconuts were growing in India. Those coconuts didn't have that color. There were these odd, very yellowish colors of coconut trees, or the green color itself would look very sickly green than the healthy fresh green that tender coconut should have. And not just tender coconut, these old coconuts that have this yellowish color. When I'm eating the, I had asked one of the resorts to give me one of their fallen down coconuts for consumption, because otherwise they send those coconuts for other uses, possibly for making liquor or possibly for other coconut based manufacturing activities. Now this one fallen coconut that they gave me for drinking, I found the water in the coconut healthy enough to drink. But because of the heightened chemical contaminations from soaps and other soap like things that we use in our life for keeping cleanliness, their water definitely had high amounts of soap. I even was like able to wash some clothes without adding any additional soap to my clothes, because there was such heightened soap content in there. Soap, detergent, whatever soap like things are there, those content were higher in their tap water. Now the same thing, and that tap water is coming mostly either from municipal sources or from underground water in all these resorts and homestays in Goa. So I'd lived both in resorts and in homestays, and in both places I found water pollution to be a problem. And also in these coconuts, now that I one coconut that I tried, that coconut itself had then when I was trying to eat the coconut from the because it was not anymore a tender coconut, it had more coconut and less water. Now the water, though it was healthy to drink, I also detected some soapiness in the water. I also found it a lot more in the coconut itself, and I also found some fungal contaminations happening in their environment. And this thing that is impacting the plant life is not simply impacting the plant life, it is also impacting the humans and the animal life there. The animals that were there in one of the resorts had indications of how the water pollution, food pollution is now impacting the animals' health. One of the resort persons also told that one of their children have heightened allergies also happening. Why does the child have heightened allergy? Will your body be healthy? Will your body be happy eating food, water, breathing air which is chemically polluted? No, none of our bodies will be happy if I eat food that if normally a human is supposed to have clean water when they are drinking water, clean coconuts when they are eating coconut, clean food when they are eating any other kind of food, like from lentils to rice to wheat products to non-veg, whatever Goans eat, whatever food products they are eating, if because of heightened demand for the food, people are mass producing it using a lot of chemicals, those chemicals are there in the food these people are eating. The soaps are there in the water they are drinking. All of these combined, and if that water is now used for cooking their food, that because I ate some lentil in one of the places, that lentil had the chemical contamination from the underground water supplies, chemical contamination, because most of us are habituated from directly drinking from tap water, borewell water, whatever water source we have, we drink directly from it, we cook directly from it, very few of us. And it was true that the people who live in those areas have lived for 30, 40, 50 years or more. Initially, when 50 years back they were living there, when human activities were lesser people were traveling to those destinations, definitely their underground water supply was cleaner. Even if for hundreds of years people have been doing this human activities, there was a time on earth when 100 years back, 200 years back, Goa was much more cleaner than Goa is currently. And again, in the future, Goa will continue on this track of unclean environment if no one wakes up. Same way with Navi Mumbai, same way with West Bengal, same way with any place on earth where I have lived. I've lived in Salt Lake City in Utah as well, in US. Over there too, I had water pollution problems. It's just that I didn't realize it that I was having a water pollution problem. Because initially when I went to Utah, my skin used to be very highly irritated after taking a shower, and I used to get dry skin. and I didn't understand why am I getting the dry skin. Initially I just chalked it out to the fact that Utah has drier weather than India. India is more humid in nature. That's why my skin is drying up. So I applied lots and lots of lotions and creams. But after a few years of living there, some of this dryness went away. But I'm realizing now, at that time I just thought my body got adapted to living there. But in Utah, when I lived in Salt Lake City for 13 years of my life, I also moved from one housing to another, and I changed a lot of housings. And in these different housings now were the root sources of my skin allergy. Some of the housings where I lived were new housing, had new sources of water, new pipelines, because of which the water didn't have any chemicals that would harm my health, or the chemicals in it were such that they weren't causing skin irritation. That's why I didn't get skin irritation. In the places where the water was such that my skin was allergic to the chemical contamination in the water, my skin was showing those problems. Not only my skin, my scalp was also showing problems in some of these areas. Same thing again when I returned back to India, moved and lived in a different city of India than where the city where had grown up. Again, the water in this area is were causing skin irritation, scalp irritation, and not just to me who has moved to this place. In recent years, I also found that while I'm talking with some ladies in my neighborhood, they were talking about other children in this area who have fungal infections, scalp infection, other infections going on in their health. I heard the story of a lady, two of her family members died from cancer. One was a young teenage boy who died from cancer, one was her spouse who died from cancer. Now, how are these people getting cancer if conditions were ideal for these people in the life that we lead? Would we get the cancer? No, but something is wrong in the environment of this area and the food of this area, because pesticides can cause cancer, pesticides can cause organ damage. From that organ damage you can get cancer. Other things, fungicides and other chemicals in our food can also cause organ damage, from which we can get cancer or bone diseases, because one of them had a bone cancer. I don't remember the other one's trajectory, but whichever cancer you get, be it bone cancer, be it blood cancer, be it organ damage related, some organ system having cancer, if your root source, even if you get treatment, and all of these people got the treatment also, it's not that they didn't get the standard cancer treatments, but if their environmental conditions are continuously still having exposure to chemicals and other things that are carcinogenic for them, they will continue getting cancer. In India, carcinogens are not simply coming from chemicals. It is coming from radiation from our phones. It is coming from radiation from cheaper phones than even some cheaper phones have radiation, expensive phones have radiation. It is also coming not just from radiation from our phones, because it's a tropical country. It is also coming from and a country where nuclear power plants are there. It's coming from radiation from nuclear power plants, radiation from the sun when solar flares are high. It is also coming from chemicals that are in our daily life use, like if I am microwaving a food and using containers which are leaching plastic, and those plastics, even if they have not been studied, or even if they are saying these plastics are microwave safe, maybe they are microwave safe until the time you don't know whether that in combination with other chemicals will give you a disease, which is the problem currently. There are many things which are touted as safe, thought to be safer, but it's only simply safer because we don't yet know the future impact of those chemicals, of those products that we are using in our daily life. Or even if because there's no standardization in our country, there is no good legal systems that are following that, we get good quality food, good quality. What happens to food which is bad quality? There is no way to even dispose of the food that is bad quality. So what will happen if there is no right ways to dispose food that is bad quality, no right ways to stop a industry that is harming us? Then there is a eventual consequence of that as well. because simply, like, for a few years there was this plastic ban. They told us we will collect all the plastic, blah blah blah. But what happened? Even though there was a plastic ban, they couldn't stop the plastic industry even then. Why? Because the right replacement mechanisms have not come in place. If you're banning plastic, you have to also give all the industries time that depend on that plastic to change to a better quality product. But if you want to change to a better quality, say organic food delivery product, because I saw this in the food deliveries, even now, if you are banning plastic but food delivery is still continuing with plastic, those food delivery industries also have to find out a way to recycle the plastic. There is so much plastic in use in India. Globally also there's so much plastic in use, but we have never recycled it in the right way. Recycling also adds to chemical pollution, because if you are just melting the plastic, it adds to chemical pollution. If you are reusing the plastic, that is a better way to do the plastic recycling than to melt it, or reusing it where the plastic is pressurized into becoming something else would be a better way to do it than melting the plastic. Or some people, are doing all these plastic recycling activities in their home projects by burning the plastic, melting the plastic in small scale ways. But if you burn it in small scale ways and recycle on large scale ways and recycle, both the burning of that plastic is carcinogenic to your health. You just don't realize it. And the carcinogenicity is like that if you do small projects or large projects where we are inhaling this melted plastic, or we live in an area where lot of plastic melting is going on, we are breathing that air from that plastic that is there in our air. We may not consciously know how much of that plastic we are breathing or we are consuming if we are heating food in the microwave using a plastic bowl. But slowly over time, that plastic accumulation in our body is leading to our cancers and organ damages, which will show up maybe 10 years after the original exposure or continuous exposure. But it will eventually show up in 10, 20, 30 years. By the time we are so weak in health that we can't even follow the right practices. It is very hard to change our practices 10 years later when we have a declining health than change the practices in the time when our health was we were healthier. And this is the problem. Healthy people don't understand they have to start following the right practices when they are healthy. When 5 people in a family are living together, out of that the unhealthiest person is showing them what is going wrong in the family, what needs to change in the family life, so that you become healthy. If in a population, when in larger cities, when thousands of people died after the pandemic, if you are just sitting and thinking that I didn't die, I took vaccines and that's why I'm healthy, you're false. That's a false paradigm. There are many countries and smaller countries where, which were island nations, and like I saw Ireland and Seychelles, where vaccination was over 95%, 100%. Even then, despite 100% vaccinations or 95% vaccinations, COVID still was present in these countries. Why? Because firstly, after vaccination, the way the vaccination materials are disposed leads to earth pollution, air pollution, water pollution. That will impact the quality of the food you will get, quality of the water you're drinking, breathing, washing, inhaling, because water is inhaled from the air also. The water vapor, if I have contaminated water, that water, if it gets boiled while I'm cooking, I'm also inhaling not just water vapor, I'm inhaling water vapor plus chemicals from the food I was cooking that had some contamination, be it coming from the food or coming from the water. So do you see the feedback loop of continuous earth pollution? And now to that feedback loop, if we even add medicine, it is also adding to a earth pollution regimen, which initially, when earth was healthy, we were healthy, we didn't realize it. But when we are unhealthier, anyone who is unhealthy, their body starts realizing it. In US, that's why This is something I learned from US only while I was practicing as a pharmacist in US, while I was doing a PharmD program. In that PharmD program, one part of the teaching was to do medication therapy management for people on multiple medicines or people who are near death in hospitals and assisted living facilities. So those pharmacists who are clinically trained to do this, I was clinically training in that field. There was a reason I didn't finish that training, but which was all related to visa and other issues. But if I had finished that training, or if anyone else who has done this PharmD degree, all of those pharmacists know that when a patient who is elderly or middle age or any age, if that patient is taking 10 drugs, 15 drugs, their body starts showing some problems as a result of multiple drugs. If a patient's health is declining, the same drug that they've used for 10-20 years of their life, that drug's dosage sometimes needs to be adjusted and reduced for that patient if the patient is having multiple health problems from multiple drugs. Because drugs have the capacity to give you side effects, drugs have the capacity, your body has the capacity to change in some biochemistry as you're aging, because of which the same drug that you were taking, say 10 milligrams of a drug when you were younger, in the old age your drug dosage might have to be reduced to 5 milligrams instead, because your body is not is weakened now. Biological systems have changed, biochemistry has changed, some other health indicators have come up, all of which combined means your drug dosage might have to be changed. All these drug dosage changes, usually either hospital doctors or pharmacists who have done PharmD degrees in US do practice this in their regular work life. But the same principle that is applied to a patient who is severely ill or a patient who is taking multiple drugs is also equally true in the life of anyone who is healthy, anyone who is in moderate state of health as well. It's just that because you're in a moderate state of health, or you are more healthier, your impact of 10 chemicals in your body might be less. It can be 10 chemicals from 5 medicines and 5 chemicals in your air, water, food. It can be 1 chemical that you're taking from your medicine and 10 chemicals in your environment. All of these combined add to the load of chemicals in your body, which adds to the load of body not able to do some of its normal functions, or the body is continuously trying, like how I'm coughing now. There is something in the air in my home that caused me to cough currently, because my respiratory system knows it is an allergen, wants me to expel it out so that it doesn't stay in my body. So coughing is a natural response. Getting sputum out from your chest when you have respiratory problems is a natural response. Sometimes even when my allergy responses are heightened, my throat starts clogging up too, like I can't breathe. That is also actually a natural response to ejecting a toxin from my body. But many of us, when we can't breathe, what has happened? Because of air pollution, we are not able to breathe, because of chemicals in our environment that are being sprayed on the trees. The trees are not able to breathe. Trees are also causing some allergic responses. Those allergic responses and pollen now go into our lungs and are causing an additional allergic response in our body. So all these chemicals to pollens that are having a allergic response to the chemicals in our environment, which no one has correlated yet, but it is time to correlate now, is causing someone to choke, or is causing someone to have a lung distress, respiratory distress. What do? We go to a doctor. Doctor gives us a medicine that will cause our inflammation to go down, or cause our, which if inflammation is our source, or if someone has inflammation as well as constriction of their respiratory tract organs happening, they are given these drugs which will cause the respiratory tract from not constricting. But all these drugs that are being given to reduce inflammation or prevent our lungs from constricting, now what that drug is doing, because my lungs are now open, because my lungs are not naturally responding to any chemical contamination that I'm breathing in. Eventually, because my lungs are open, it gave me the relief of breathing well. Because my inflammation went down, it helped my lungs recover from the heightened inflammation that could cause my lung from malfunctioning. But there is a consequence also for me to keep on taking these drugs long term, and those consequences show up in those patients who are asthma patients, COPD patient, allergy patients, who have taken these drugs for 10, 20, 30 years of their life. Eventually there is a health decline in their health, because while the drugs help them breathe easily, while the drugs initially were good for their lungs and helping them recover from some of the illnesses and responses to the chemicals or bacteria or fungus or whatever was impacting their lung health, some of these drugs were beneficial initially. But in 10 years time, because your lungs are most of the time open as a result of taking these drugs, respiratory tract is open, it is not constricting properly, because of which any pollutant, any physical pollutants, chemical pollutants, biological pollutants are more likely to stay stuck in your body than get eliminated by the normal body's response systems, because those normal response systems are now in a lower level. This is why there are many people who take steroids for a long time for their lung problems end up getting fungal infections, because any kind of fungus you're consuming in breathing from your air or consuming in your food, which could have been expelled by your body via different body's mechanisms, if that mechanism is shut down as a result, because even though the drug is being taken for preventing you from having constrictive respiratory tract or constrictions in your trachea, whatever was the place where you were suffering the respiratory distress, while it is supposed to act in those muscle areas, we have similar muscles in other organ systems too. So the other organ systems and our body, if I'm taking the drug via inhalation, doesn't mean it will just go and stay in my lungs and respiratory tract. It will, via our cardiovascular system and circulatory systems functions, it will eventually get transmitted to other parts of the body, and in these other parts of the body, if similar receptors are present, which is why sometimes people not just get fungal infections, they can also get cardiovascular problems after long term use of certain medications, and any kind of eventual impact in cardiovascular system, in our kidneys or wherever our circulatory system went and deposited these chemicals. Now the chemical itself can also start causing kidney damage, liver damage, as they are trying to be eliminated from the body, because you've been taking medicines for so many years. But other than the chemical itself having an impact in our body, it is also impacting other cells, where their peristalsis like motion, their muscular functions could be stopped by these drugs, because of which those systems are not able to function and do their normal work. And when they are not able to do their normal work, if there were fungus in the body which could have been eliminated by certain other organs, those fungus are not getting eliminated. If there were viruses in our body that could have been eliminated by us coughing up, by us first indicating to our body that there is an allergen that has entered my lungs, entered my trachea, and if I cough it out, then it is easier. But because I'm not coughing anymore, because I'm taking medicine which is preventing me from coughing, which is preventing me from closing up my trachea and respiratory tract, I don't know that there is a toxin in my body. So my body doesn't know it, it doesn't dispel out or expel out the fungus or the bacteria or the physical toxin or the chemical toxin that I breathed. So all of them combined then eventually will cause you some disease, organ failure, organ malfunction. So these are all interconnected things, and which will manifest not the first day I take these medicines. When these medicines are studied in humans, that's why when the clinical trials are being done, initial clinical trials they do on healthy people, to see how whether it's damaging any healthy person. In a healthy person, they might not be damaging, and most of the clinical trials will only run for a few shorter span of life than actually a drug being taken by a human being. That's why if I have taken a drug, when they do the drug testing, it runs usually for 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, maximum 10 years. Some clinical trials have been done on it. Some follow-up clinical trials after the drug has been released then happens, from where you find out other data where these drugs have caused extra impact in our health after the drug has been in the market for 10-20 years. But even then, whatever data shows up, if I am not keeping updated on that data, if the doctor is not keeping updated on the data, even if I am updated and the doctor is updated, but other than that one chemical that I was taking 10 years back, now if I have also got chemical exposures from other chemicals in my environment, if I'm also taking 10 drugs now instead of just one drug that I was taking to manage my health, which has declined over time. How is it declining? The more chemicals you're adding to the body, the more the decline is happening, either from the physical chemicals you are using or the chemicals that are there in your environment. It is impacting your health. So some conscious use, some unconscious use, both are impacting our health. But if we want to change our health to a better direction, both the conscious and unconscious use has to be reduced. Otherwise our bodies are failing, and many people's bodies are failing. As a result, they died in the pandemic. And the ones whose bodies are continuously even now failing, if they didn't die of the pandemic, there are cancer patients, there are multiple organ failure patients, there are multiple health problems related patients currently globally. There are patients who are who have long COVID symptoms because the conditions that have impacted their health and led to their COVID are still present in their life. For some it is chemical pollution, for some it's biological pollutants in their environment, like mold and fungus, mold in the homes, fungus in the food, mold in the food. All these are also a problem. Then there are chemicals in their water, chemicals in their bedding, chemicals that are being used to preserve clothes while we are washing the clothes, but all those chemicals have a health impact as well. Chemicals people use for their for looking beautiful, the dyes we use for coloring our hair, tattoos people are putting in their body, they also impact health. All of them combined are impacting your health. When people used to do tattooing 100 years back, 10 years back, the conditions that impacted your health while tattooing were less. But now while tattooing, there are 4, 5, 10 different factors that can impact your health, not just from the tattooing but also from your own body's what is going on in your body. And I literally saw a video of this girl. I posted about this on Facebook. That girl was getting a allergic hypersensitivity reaction from the tattooing, but many people who saw those videos, they're like, this is just common pain or something, or she just passed out. No, she didn't pass out. If she's not careful, if she again tries to go and get a tattoo, she will likely have a more severe reaction if she's not careful, or if people around her aren't careful to understand. Or even in the tattoo parlor, if because you have seen some people flinch and grin, just simply have a fear of tattoos, is different from someone's body actually physically reacting to the chemicals in the tattoo or the pain, because their body is already in a lower state of health. So this thing, earlier only healthier people might have gone for tattooing, or people who look healthy and fit also were actually healthy and fit because chemical pollution, environmental pollution, lifestyle pollution was less. But the same person who looked healthy, if a same that health status looking person, like a 100 say a 80-pound person went to get a tattoo, if that same 80-pound person now, who looks like a 80-pound healthy person, now goes to get a tattoo, if that other person, there are say two people, one person who went 50 years back to get a tattoo, who was 80 pounds in of weight, looked very muscular, did many things to maintain his muscular health. The other person is also going to get a tattoo, who is muscular, maintaining his muscular health. They're both 80 pounds, they both were eating similar kinds of foods, everything was similar. But what has changed? Even if he is eating the eggs that the other person was eating, if the other person ate 4 eggs, this person is also eating 4 eggs a day. In those 4 eggs, if more chemicals are there, more chemicals are there in your body. If in those meat products you ate, there were more chemicals are there in your body. If in the other products that you use to maintain your weight, there were chemicals, you have those chemicals in your body. Now that same 80 kg, similar 80 kg looking person, now if he goes to get a tattoo, because his body is overloaded with different chemicals, even if he had 10 years back gone and got a tattoo and had no reaction to it, now there is no guarantee that he will not get a reaction to the same tattoo, even if he goes to the same place where he went earlier. Because conditions related to tattooing in that place could have changed, conditions related to his own body's health could have changed, or both could have changed. So there was always so much, our body is like that. But some humans being very mechanically oriented, they think that our life will never change, our life will not shift. What we have done 10 years back will continue to be beneficial even now. What we did 100 years back is still relevant. This is what people are thinking even now about pesticide use, even now about medications, even now about lots of chemicals that they are using to keep their body healthy and hygienic, when they are not helping us anymore. So it is important that we learn how they are impacting the health. Now I told you the simple ways in which it is impacting our food, but it has also been impacting what else? It has also been impacting animal lives on earth. If all these animals that are getting extinct, they're getting extinct because there is not enough of nature left for them to go and forage in the forests and nature, to go and eat the right healthy food that they need to survive. And if these animals, there are so many animals who are still kept in captivity in the zoos, so that in the zoos or natural sanctuaries, even in those sanctuaries now there is a problem. If the sanctuaries are continuously using chemicals to keep insects at bay or to keep whatever else, even if the sanctuary is not doing it, if the locals in that neighborhood are doing it, what is happening? If you are using pesticides, if you're using chemicals in the local farming, all of which goes inside your sanctuary via the wind or the water, what is happening is the soil and the nutrients are getting contaminated in the sanctuary, because of which the trees don't give the right nutrition, because of which these animals are now dying or near extinction, because not enough of those animals could survive through the chemical pollution of their habitats. So if while you can keep those animals in captivity and give them food, now even in that food, if the food that a human is consuming is polluted, is the food that you're going to give to the animal also going to be polluted, or is it going to be healthy? I went to a place in Kerala where the people came there. It is a very beautiful place. It is the greenery in that place is really great, but the greenery is not sustainable. Currently it is dying, the greenery is dying, but people are not understanding it, because those plants had been raised in that area for over hundreds years. So their great grandparents were the ones who had nurtured these trees without using chemicals. That's why these trees are now really really tall. But now chemical usages are also causing some of these trees to grow taller than they should, because those chemicals, if you are adding more ripening agent, hormones to make these trees grow faster, then also you're causing a unnatural growth in that area, where if you eat now foods with more ripening agents, more hormones laced in those foods, what is going to happen to you? If the fruit is aging faster, if the vegetable is aging faster, that you've added chemicals to, if the animal is aging faster because you gave them hormones, or you want them to produce more meat for you or something else more for you, all those chemicals that are causing more and faster growth in these animals and plants and vegetables, these are also causing, when you consume these products, heightened rapid growth in your body as well, which for some people will look like they suddenly hit puberty sooner. For others, it will look like they will get cancer sooner. For others, it will be they will hit menopause sooner. For others, it will be that some organ damage will now happen sooner, aging will happen sooner, because you're consuming foods which have all these additional chemicals. And same way, if everyone is aging sooner, getting diseased sooner, you might start taking medicine, then what is happening, you're quickening the process of earth pollution more and more. So the animals and birds there are dying. Birds can come there when there is no air pollution, but as soon as there is air pollution, the birds want to run away or the birds are dying. Then in the pond there were some people who caught fishes from the pond thinking this is a very green area, so the pond fish should be very clean and healthy. But no, I could literally smell, and because I used to eat fish when I was a kid, but I don't like eating fish. I've stopped eating fish, but I have a very sensitive palate and nose, so I can distinguish when a fish is fresh, when a fish is not fresh, what is the natural smell of the fish and what is the smell that is there in the fish from chemical contamination, organ damage or something else. So if I have consumed fish which has mercury in it, I don't eat that fish. If I have consumed products which might have had some fish extracts in them or fish related cross contamination, I can't eat those products if I can smell the mercury or any other contamination from the fish based things added to it. Because in current years I have found this fish like smell, mercury like smell, not just in fish. I've also found that smell in some processed foods. Children's foods have had that, like infant food formulas have had the smell of mercury and fish like contaminations. And even in something like oils have had that. Even some processed packaged foods, like which we use, like some powders we might be using for our making our dosas and dosa batters, this that, they all have some chemical contamination or the other. And now from this fish that was growing up in a pond, that was in an area where there is water pollution happening and air pollution happening and earth pollution happening from spraying of chemicals in that area to keep pests in control, what has happened is those pesticides that can cause organ damage and cancer in humans, they can also cause organ damage and cancer in the fish. So these fish that these people ate, it didn't have any chemical smell to the fish, but the fish had very rotten smell to it. The kind of rotten smell, I tried to explain to these people that this is not a beneficial fish to eat. But if people don't understand that they are eating rotten food, can you stop someone from eating rotten food if their awareness is not raised and they are not ready to understand that this food is rotten? If I couldn't drink the water in that area for a long time. Some days I could drink it, some days I could not drink it. Why? Because of the days when I lived in that area for a couple of weeks. So the days when there were no chemicals being sprayed in the area, I was fine. I could drink the water. The water was also fine because of having large trees. They have a good underground water supply. Because there is a dam also in that area, they have good water supply. So if there is no chemical pollution, or when the chemical pollution is at the lowest, drinking that water is okay for a person who is mildly unhealthy or moderately unhealthy or even looks physically fit. But if you're continuously having this repeating cycle where every 2 weeks or every month they are spraying chemicals in this area, that monthly exposure, weekly exposure, repeated exposure of the chemicals to the environment is not just accumulating in the local water, it is accumulating in the food that is grown in that area, it is accumulating in the people who eat the food, it is showing up as mild to moderate symptoms of certain diseases manifesting in those people. And it is also showing in the elderly when their bodies, after having 20, 30, 40 years of exposure to these chemicals, the elderly are now having some health conditions as a result of the long term exposures to these chemicals. So which is what is the chemical poisoning I'm talking about from different chemicals. And the only solution towards better health, because we have to go towards that solution, because in those places where chemical contaminations have greatly heightened, those are also the same places of India where natural disasters have also started happening. There were recent floods, there were earthquakes happening, there are volcanoes erupting, different parts of the globe, there are tornadoes happening, tsunamis happening, all these different things, glaciers are melting away. These are all the consequences of natural consequences of heightened earth pollution causing certain chemical changes in our environment, biological changes in our environment, all of which, when Mother Nature can't handle anymore, leads to eventually earthquakes or other natural calamities to unfold. And the symptoms before the earthquake came, before a flood came, was present in what the people are doing in those areas. The area which got the, if in Kerala, when the floods happened, the areas where which are the low lying areas will get the floods most. High lying high rise mountainous areas didn't get those floods. But while the floods have happened in the low lying areas, the consequences, the things that led to the flood in the low lying areas, lies in the chemical activities of these high lying areas of the mountainous regions. So the people in the mountainous regions also have to become careful about what chemicals they are using, and the people who are living in the low lying areas also have to become more and more mindful that even if others are using, we have to stop using these chemicals. And the symptoms of these chemicals causing earth damage, causing earth to now finally cause floods or earthquakes or whatever happens in a particular place, is present in the slow development of floods in those areas. First, the floods might have happened only in pockets of Kerala, but now when the mass scale flood happened, because large amounts of Kerala have that problem. Same way, earthquakes initially in Maharashtra happened in certain regions, small pockets of Maharashtra. But right now, Maharashtra and any other place in this belt of latitude area of India where heat has risen in recent years, those places are indicating that earthquake is imminent. Seismic activities in those areas are indicating that earthquake is imminent, and the seismic activities can cease if we stop or reduce the chemical pollution of earth in those areas. But if people don't stop it, those areas are bound to, which are highly active seismic zones, they are bound to in the future have earth pollution, earthquakes or volcanoes or whatever else that was going on there. So people have to wake up to what they're doing, and we can't suddenly also stop any of these activities, but we have to slowly wrap down these activities, because if we suddenly stop doing everything that is causing body pollution or earth pollution, then what will happen is, like when someone who's a drug addict suddenly stops taking medicines, what do? They get fevers, chills, tremors, shaky hands. Why? Because their body's biological system is used to this chemical pollution of their body via lots of addictive chemicals that they are taking, right? And they're taking it in large amounts. That's why in an addict you can see the effect more. But same way with a patient who's elderly, addict is taking one drug in large quantities or 2-3 drugs in large quantities, whereas a elderly patient is taking 10 drugs, not in large quantities, in prescribed quantities by a doctor. But even then, when they are slowly have to be taken away from a drug, they have to be slowly taken away from certain drugs. Certain patients who are depression patients, when doctors are changing therapy from one drug to the other, at that time also depression or mental health issue patients have to be tapered from one drug and then tapered down. One drug has to be reduced, the other drug has to be slowly built up in their body. So these kind of things happen. Why? So that we understand that if we reduce also, these kind of things are the indicators of how chemical pollution in our body and chemical pollution on earth has to be reduced. It can't be reduced in one fine day and just simply stopped. It has to be reduced slowly and in the right ways. If you don't reduce it slowly in the right ways, you end up increasing earth pollution somewhere else. You end up causing body damage to you or the ecosystem, because even the ecosystem has currently right now tuned to the pollution. Our bodies are tuned to the pollution. So if suddenly, if there are 10 chemicals in Navi Mumbai that have to be reduced, you have to slowly drop down the usage of those chemicals. Not one fine day just stop one chemical from being there in that area. The slow tapering is necessary, slow winding down is necessary, but winding down is necessary. If you don't wind down, if you don't, I have stopped using so many chemicals, so many non-veg food products that were causing me health issues. Slowly, step by step. It's not that one day I decided I'll become non-veg and I became from a non-vegetarian to a vegetarian. I transitioned. Firstly, my family didn't allow it, but there was a reason why my family didn't allow it, because my family doesn't know how to substitute non-vegetarian food into vegetarian food. Which kind of good vegetarian food would help me if I switch from non-veg to veg? Being coming from a family who has only consumed non-vegetarian food for centuries, right? So because of that, while my family didn't allow me, I stopped at least eating some of the major non-veg food groups which my family was consuming. Then when I went to US, again over time I became a mostly vegetarian person. Then I would eat some non-vegetarian like eggs, and eggs were my favorite non-vegetarian food for many years. But I had to slowly taper down my non-vegetarian content, and I have to also slowly increase my vegetarian input, which is where I have failed a little bit. As a result, also I'm suffering, because while I'm trying to increase my vegetarian inputs, if those vegetables, if those legumes, if those nuts have chemicals in them, because I haven't used them in large amounts when I was younger, my body is not used to having a chemical infused nut or chemical infused fruit now into my diet. My body is rejecting those also, because the problem is chemicals. Now someone who has eaten a lot of nuts for 10 years and didn't have any allergies to it, his body will still take micro amounts of the pesticides present in the nuts. But someone like me who has never eaten more of these nuts, suddenly if I start eating those nuts, again there is a problem. So I have to slowly taper down the harm causing foods, also increase the benefit causing foods. But while tapering the harm causing or increasing the benefit causing food, both of them, if they have chemicals or biological things wrong with them, consuming either is harmful for someone like me. And that's where I am in this precarious balance of going near cancer levels but not yet there, because I am trying to mindfully consume the foods that I can, so that I don't get cancer from the pesticides, don't get cancer from the hormone laced biological products that are mass produced, don't get cancer from even arsenic in my food. So any food that has arsenic in it, if I can detect the arsenic via the taste or how it is burning up my body, I try to reduce eating this. But whatever else I can try reducing in consumption, if there are 10 products I have reduced eating, but there are again 10 more products that I have tried to switch to, if they also have chemical contaminations, now my choices are just dwindling, which is what is happening to anyone who is going into extinction, be it an animal, be it a plant, be it a diseased plant who is near death, be it a diseased animal who is near death, be it a diseased human who is going towards death, be it someone who is a new baby, be it someone who is a healthy looking person, but they aren't really healthy because many factors to support the health is not there. So we have to do mass scale changes in the right ways, but not mass produce anything, because mass production is the mass production, mass selling. These are the places where people have gone wrong. You have to do the right thing for you first. You have to do the right thing for your society or family next. You have to, if you are wanting to switch suddenly, because this is also what has happened in India. when the demand for organic food has gone up, these people who sell organic lentils, organic foods that I want to buy from the market, very few organic producers are actually giving me organic food. Out of 10 organic items that I tried to buy in the last 4-5 years, 10 is the minimum I'm saying. I bought more than 10 products, but they're not really organic. Because while they might have used something organic in their formulation, say it was a cosmetic product which says it is organic, even if they have used organic fruits and vegetables and extracts for creating a organic face mask or face wash or something, but if the water itself is contaminated with chemicals, it is not an organic product anymore. Or if they add everything they have used is clean water, clean ingredients, everything that are chemical free, but they still add chemicals for preserving that mask or wash, it is again not organic anymore. It is not chemical free, because the reason why someone wants to go towards organic is they want chemical free product. But if it is chemical free, meaning something that is natural, which doesn't have any enhanced chemicals in it, anything additional added to it to keep the product from spoiling. Because if a product has spoiled, you shouldn't be using it. Instead, what is our pattern? Our society has decided, starting from fish to face products to body products to food products to water to air, everything. What have we decided? That if it is rotting, it is rotten, that's why we shouldn't use it. That is the right conclusion. But as a result of someone not wanting to use something that is rotting or rotten, that should be allowed to decay and go back to earth, what have people done? I will stop it looking like it is rotting, which is a product which looks like it is not rotting, but if it is actually rotting from the inside, if it actually has molds and fungus and other viruses, also viruses are not even visible by our eyes. So if it has all these things that are developing in that product, how much ever you make it look like a glowing orange or a glowing lemon, because I found all these chemicals in lemons, oranges, fruits, vegetables, many things, how much ever it looks like it is not rotting, but it is actually rotting. So I shouldn't actually be eating it, someone shouldn't actually be selling it, someone shouldn't actually be producing also such rotting foods. But by spraying chemicals on them, we make something look healthy when it isn't healthy, which is the problem. And if you want to actually eat healthy food, the food doesn't need to look healthy, it has to actually be healthy. So these organic people who are selling some, I really found high content of chemicals in some organic lentils, about which I had even complained to the government of India. Whether they read my messages, I don't know. But just putting an organic label to a product without actually making sure that it doesn't have chemicals in it doesn't keep it organic anymore. Then you can keep coming up with organic, like chemical free farming, pesticide free farming. Say the farmer did everything right. He did everything chemical free, pesticide free, hormone free, fungicide free, everything. He did everything right. But the one who's selling took the product from the farmer and then brought it to us, in those steps of the processes, if the retailer, wholesaler added chemicals to it, is it still organic? Is it still chemical free? The farming was chemical free, but the next steps are not chemical free. So me consuming a food where the farmer has added chemicals or the next step person has added chemicals, is the end result still going to be health harm? So if you principally don't understand why the organic label is there just to get more money, you continue to do business activities or other activities that spoils the product, then how are you being, what is the point of this new market opening up now? No point at all. You can keeping, and humans are doing that. There are so many highly regulated countries where even despite those regulations, people are unhealthy because the right practices haven't been initiated by anyone or many people in the whole supply chain of a food or a product we are getting. They're not using their brains as to why that market has opened up. They are ruining their own market by coming up with products that are not actually the reason why people want to use that product. For 5 years, 1 year, 2 year, one time you may fool a person. But if you continuously keep giving them that highly toxic, chemical laced, organic labeled food which isn't really organic, will they buy it from you eventually? So all this stupidity of humanity is causing humans to die, and the person who's making money out of these organic products, you think that person, after having all this money, is he going to live if he doesn't have clean food, clean water, clean air anywhere on earth? So what will his money have any benefit for him or his family if he doesn't do the right thing while doing the profession he is entered? He or she or they, whoever is doing these things, you can't, you can keep accumulating multiple billions of dollars in your bank account, but it is of no value if you didn't use that billions of dollars in the right way to attain it, and also to retain it, and also to eventually, if you think that, you know, when I'm elderly, because all these trajectory of health says that when you're elderly you will have 80% cost, so I will wait till I am unhealthy to use my money. But does it work that way? No, it doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. You may suddenly die one fine day as a consequence of the things that you have created on earth. You may not have get, say there are three multi-millionaires who have built their money from all these chemical contaminations of earth. Billionaire A can get die from billionaire B's actions, B can die from C's actions, C can die from A's actions. Because how you will die, that is karma, that is the karma of what you have done. But you will eventually die or have that painful death, or we are all also doing it. That's why we are also those people who are sitting and wondering why we are getting suffering. You're using those chemicals that will add to your suffering. So how will you not get that suffering? If you want that suffering to end, do you have to end the root cause of your suffering, or do you have to avoid the suffering? Buddha did teach that you need to not have expectations and desires, but your expectation and desire to not suffer is not isn't a wrong problem. But how you go about avoiding that suffering is the way in which you cause more problems. People want money because they had ancestors or they themselves saw poverty in their life. But if you saw poverty in your own life and then you became rich, should you be adding to the life of a poor person by adding more chemicals? If you became rich by becoming someone great in a chemical industry, or if you became rich by becoming a pharmacist like me, or if you became rich by becoming a doctor, if you became rich by whatever means you became rich, should you be adding more to the suffering of the poor? Why were the poor suffering? Because they didn't have good quality food, water, air, money, right? But money was the last thing. If they had access to good food, water, air, they would still have had a beautiful life. There are many people in villages or pockets of the world where they don't have that much money, but they are still healthy and they still have a good balanced life if they did the right things, or many of the right things, to stay healthy. So money was only one thing that humans have created. And that same money, if you didn't use it in the right way to eliminate the suffering of the same people from whom you have come up, how have you done? Why did you get that money? What is the point of that money then? Instead you are doing more earth harm than earth benefit that you could have done with your money as well. It's not that you didn't have the chance to do good, but you're not choosing to do good because you don't understand what is good. Many people don't understand what is really good, what is really bad. Someone like me telling that all these things are a problem zone is a problem for many humans, because they want to live in denial that what I am doing is the right thing. As long as it doesn't harm me, it is the right thing. But that is not how karma or life works for anyone. What you do has consequences. The consequences of what your ancestors have done also has consequences. If you don't change what you are doing and what your ancestors have done that was wrong for the earth, and if you keep believing their wrongful patterns for change, you will keep on adding to the problem. The reason why chemical problems are high on earth is everyone wants to solve the problem of pest control, to food dying, to crop failures, to climatic calamities, to financial calamities, on the processes that actually cause these calamities. You keep on enhancing the wrongful activities, and then most humans do this because I will post about that in the next video, because I'm going a little bit in the philosophical direction here, but and the operational direction of how we lead to our own bad health. I will talk about it in the next video. But what I'm trying to say here is everything that we have done so far or doing currently is impacting health of animals, plants, birds, wildlife, food we eat, food we don't eat but we need for breathing, plants we haven't ourselves grown but we need to save them from dying if we want to live. Because otherwise, if these plants die, these hundreds and decades year old trees die, then we are definitely going to die. And sometimes before they die, some natural disaster otherwise is striking us, all of which these dying trees, near death animals, rotting animals, rotten food, all of these are indicators of people and systems failing that needs to change. I hope it was beneficial. It's again a long video, but this is a long topic and there's a lot of changes people have to do on earth if they want a cleaner earth, newer earth, fresher earth, healthier life, healthier body. Thank you. Have a good day.